Welcome to East Tennessee Pinball. Today I'm doing something a little different. Not doing a pinball video, I'm doing a stereo install video. So I just purchased a new to me 2020 Tacoma. The stereo is okay on there, but it's not great. I still got my 96 Tacoma, but I wanted to upgrade the stereo a little bit, so I'm going to install this system right here. It's just a bundle of parts. So I've got a Fosgate 300 watt subwoofer, self-powered, and I just bought a couple other parts. I bought this basically installation kit, which comes with most of this. A power cable, a ground cable. This is the plug that those both plugged into. Django, get your face back. And that little plug plugs in right there, I guess. A fuse holder for right next to the battery, because this power cable will run all the way to the battery. This is the basically the volume knob for the subwoofer, or a bunch of various connectors. This is the speaker input plug. It goes in here. It's got RCA cables. We're going to snip those off because we're going to use high level inputs. When I say high level inputs, basically we're going to use the speaker inputs for the truck. This is a little cable that basically, so we don't have to cut any of the factory wires in the truck. So this is the male and female ends of what plugs into the back of the stereo on the back of the truck. So we're going to stick this inside, and we're going to tap these speaker wires into this and put this in between the wires in the truck and the stereo. So we can do all the soldering, everything on the bench in the shop here, and pull the stereo back out and just plug that in place and route those wires down, and it'll be done. So that'll make things a lot easier. And anybody wants to get rid of it, haven't monkeyed with the actual factory wires in the truck. Some wire loom. Oh, this is so this thing needs a signal to turn on. It will turn on from the high level input, so that's what I'm planning to use. But I'm going to go ahead and run this wire. You can also turn it on from another ACC signal, another 12 volt signal. So I'm going to run this up to the back of the stereo. I'm not going to wire it up. I'm just going to run it while I'm running all these speaker wires through, in case sometimes my experience is sometimes those high level input turn-ons, they don't either they don't work well, or they're a little delayed. So I'm just going to run this wire just in case. And this is just basically cloth electrical tape is what it amounts to. So anyway, for Django, he really likes to start on these videos. He gets very jealous. So I'm going to start at the business end. I'm going to go ahead and pop open the trunk and get this power wire run. So we got my power line installed here. I'll hook it up to the very last thing because the fuse. I've got my line wrapped around here. I'm going to put this wrap around there and then zip tie it up around that existing harness. And I'm going to go through the firewall right, well, see it right there, that nipple. If I can point to it and hold the camera at the same time. There, I'll snip that off, and I'm going to punch right through there. And then we'll be inside the truck. All right, I got my loom installed. I got it zip tied up. And I cut that little boot off of there, so I'm ready to run this wire through the firewall and maybe go inside and warm up for a little bit. It's pretty cold out here today. So I couldn't get this power cable jammed through there, so I came home, got myself a coat hanger, and I've got it passed through right here. By the way, in this Tacoma, these little panels are super easy. There's one little hand nut you just twist off of your thumb. This pops off. These just snap off. This one I haven't taken off. I'm going to see if I can just pass the wire through there. We'll see. I may have to take this pedestal off. And then in the back, this piece right here just snaps off. So again, I don't know if I'm going to take this piece off or not. We'll see. But first off, I'm going to tape that power cable right there to the other side of that coat hanger, yank it through, and I'm going to get my speaker wires connected up here in this harness after I solder them onto that little short inner connector, and this thing comes off super easy on this. It's like the easiest thing stereo to get into I've ever seen. So I got this thing pulled through, and next thing I'm going to do is get all the wires attached to the back of the radio and route them back together. So this thing is supposed to just pop off or break. That came off. I'm going to use 2 hands. Okay, it pops off pretty easy. I didn't break a single clip. So there's 4 10mm sockets here. So I'm going to take those off, and then this thing's going to pop right out. So we got those sockets out, so now this thing just pulls right out. And I believe it's this one right here is the one we unplug. Let me go get my other plug and see if that's it. I believe that's it. Yeah, that's it. So this is the one that, this little wire here, we're going to plug that in there, and then we're going to take that male side and plug it into the end of here. So, and then within this loop here, we'll scab in some, or tap in and get speaker wires and run them to the amp in the back. So these basically have the output for the regular speakers that we're going to tap off and add that amp to the back. So we can take all this harness and speaker wires, get this all soldered up, plug it in here, and then route the speaker wires back. So we just got to figure out which ones of these to tap into. So we want the, I guess, the 2 rear, left and right rear, so 4 wires, and cut into them and solder them up. So I got that speaker code. So I'm going to hook this amplifier up to the rear speakers. So the rears are the, the purple and the green, and the negative have the black line on them. So this little connector, I've got, they're color coded correctly. So I'm going to cut those purple and greens and hook these 2 speaker wires up, solder those into them. And then before I install it, I'm going to mark on the other end of these. I'm going to just do a continuity test and mark which ones are positive and negative so I keep them, the polarity the same. Alright, so I get it all wired up. I'm going to put some heat shrink on it here in a second. But before I do that, I'm going to measure continuity between, let's say, this green one here. That's the one with the black line on it, so that's the negative. I'm going to find, because this wire's pretty long, instead of tracing it out, I'm just going to measure continuity between there and which one of these 2 wires is the negative. I'm going to mark that with the magic marker here. So when I go wire this up the other side, I'll be able to get them wired with the right polarity. There, I got the heat shrink on there, and finally some cloth tape, and we're ready. So this is going to plug one end into the radio, and the other one takes the connector that was in the radio, and then these wires, these 2 speaker wires, get run to the back where the amp's at. Alright, so I'm back in the truck. I got my speaker wires run down coming through down by my foot, with a little help with the coat hanger. So now I just have to unplug that one, plug that in, stick that into there, and then I can button this back up. So I got that plugged in there. I'm probably going to leave this for there now and not put this back in. It's not that big a deal, but I want to get everything wired up, make sure it's working before I close it all up. Alright, so I got the wires bundled up here. I'll put that plate on later. I got it through that seal plate. I just jammed it under there. These little things just snap open so I can, well, with 2 hands they snap open. Anyway, I can get them under here, and basically this is where it's going to go. I'll drill a hole right here to get all my wires in, and that box is going to sit right in here. That's my seal plate, and I guess I'll go ahead and drill a hole there, get this box in here mounted. So I just took out that bolt right there. I'm going to scuff it up so I can get a very good electrical connection. I'm going to run the ground, so it's going to, there's going to be, so the red wires of power coming in. I'm going to have another heavy gauge 8-gauge wire going from there. It's going to run back in here, so I'll have a power wire and a ground wire going up here up to the amp. So put this eyelet on the grounding strap. I'm going to take this wire brush and scrub all the paint off where this bolt's gonna bolt that down on the back seat here, so that can make sure I get a very good ground. We got that paint off of there, and now this is gonna go on. So just a couple more things I've got to get finished up here. So this is the power block. So this thing plugs right in there. So I've got to trim the insulation off the power and the ground, and just use those set screws and screw that in there, and then that way this thing can come in and out easily out of the vehicle. And the other part of it is this here. This is a speaker input. So they only give a cable for RCA jack. So in the instructions it says if you're using high level inputs, you basically cut these off and strip them back and take those 4 wires and solder those 4 wires to the 4 speaker wires you're coming down. Unfortunately, I could have done this on the table, but I didn't know how long the speaker wire is going to be, so I'm going to trim them appropriately and then solder them in the back of the pickup, and then heat shrink them and put some of the fabric wrap around it so it looks semi-professional, and then I'll be ready to plug all this in and turn it on, make sure everything's working, and then just put all the paneling back on the truck. Well, I've also got to hook up the 12 volt before I actually turn it on, because the battery's disconnected from the power side also. So I got the power plug put on, and I got the speaker wire soldered on. I'm going to go ahead and wrap that with some of that cloth tape, and then I'm going to plug this thing in and see if it fires up. That cloth tape definitely makes for a professional look. Plug in the amp and put on the battery positive, and we're gonna have sound. So I've got it set for DC off. No, yeah, it's on DC offset, which is so should auto turn on with the high signal, which is what I've got. Input level, I've got that's high phase. So if I had the polarity of these both backwards, I could just change right here. The reason I did the continuity is if I had one backwards and one forwards, that would really be messed up, because then I couldn't fix it with this. Got the gain turned down, crossover turned down, the bass boost turned down. So just hook up the battery now. So I got that cleaned up. We'll just act like we didn't see that corrosion right there. Probably ought to clean that battery terminal, but that's for another day. Today it's time to turn on the current stereo. Well, here we go. I guess I should be at the back. I can just turn on the sound. Yeah, it's got 500,000 menus on it. I'll just turn on the radio. Well, I didn't think about it. This is gonna well, I don't have to worry about demonetizing because I'm not getting monetized, but if I leave the radio going, it will delete for very long, it'll delete the video. Let me see if I've got power light on this thing. I do. The gain is turned all the way down. I couldn't tell it was on at all before. Let me turn it back up for just a second or two and see. It's on, it's just not very much. I just got to adjust some of these. Oh yeah, there it is. So I can't leave the music running very long, or it'll delete the video, or delete audio off the video anyway. So this thing just sits right down and like that, and this thing will shut. I gotta, the kit came with some sticky tape, so I'm gonna slide it over on one side, button it up, and I gotta close this all up. This is all done. I just gotta put those panels back, but I've still got to dress this up a bit around here. I may pull this panel off and tuck it underneath, but the rest of it's pretty much done. So that whole thing took about, I don't know, maybe 3 hours. If I had to do it again, it'd probably take me an hour and a half, 2 hours maybe, having done it once. Not too bad a job. This vehicle is pretty easy to work on, especially that. I mean, that part of it was like super easy. That was the part I was kind of dreading. But that thing just literally pops off with your hands, 4 bolts, and it's out. So anyway, if you're wanting to do something like this for Tacoma, pretty easy job. So I hope you all liked the video. Most of my videos are actually pinball videos. I just did this one because that's what I was doing today. Anyway, if you like the videos, hit the like button and mash that subscribe button. See you next time. Cheers.